The internet is cracked, the show that asks the question, can we coexist with our creation?
Hey there, I'm Seth Camillo.
And I am Caroline Risberg, and we are The Internet is Cracked by Addicts for Addicts.
And today we are lucky, very lucky to have Craig Wyrick Solarhi on our show. He is a line producer. He does a lot of stuff. He makes films. He's done so much work. If you want to see all his work, go to his IMDb page. But most recently, one thing that sticks out of my mind is he was UPM on the reboot of Mad About You. But he's done so much. It's just crazy. He's from the same hometown that I'm from, and has also made his way out to Los Angeles. And I think that's the first question I'd like to ask you is, can you tell us about your journey out to Los Angeles?
I journeyed out to Los Angeles and started out working at a company that was edited what I thought was movie trailers, but it turns out they were and commercials and other stuff, but they never did any movie trailers when I was there. So I started out as literally they call me a gopher. Go for this, go for that. Not even a production assistant. I was a gopher, and I drove around, and but then I moved up very quickly as a non-union a place, and they moved me up quickly into the a position of an assistant to an assistant editor because I was very eager. I had done editing at the University of Iowa on my films, and when I was younger too. But and we were cutting on film back then in those days, so on 35 millimeter tip film on a cam. And then I didn't, because we never did any movie trailers, and that's what I thought it was about. So I quit that job with the arrogance of youth, but also it turned out to be the right thing. I quit and didn't have a job for a little while. Just did. I mean, I think I washed windows. I DJ'd, so I did some of that for weddings and parties and whatnot. I knew a guy who the guy at the place that I was working first had a DJ business. So I did that. And then I happened to get hooked up with a University of Iowa alumnus who was Barry Kemp. And he said, I may have a PA job in a couple of months. So I got this gig. Then I was a production assistant. They didn't call me a gopher. I was a production assistant on a show called Fresno and Popcorn Kid. They were not successful. Oddly, Fresno starred Carol Burnett, Charles Grodin, and all. It was a mini series. Charles Grodin, Dabney Coleman, Terry Garr.
Oh, wow.
Gregory Harris. And then Barry brought me back because Barry didn't have anything. Barry Kemp didn't have anything at the time. But then he had another thing. That thing was called Coach, and he brought me in as associate producer. So, I mean, I moved literally from PA to associate producer, which is unheard of, right? Unless you're related to somebody. So then I moved up to co-producer, and then with Barry, I moved on to producer. And so as producer, just basically, just to give an idea, the producers, you're in charge of the budget. You're in charge of dealing with the hiring and of the crew. I mean, but again, you're working with your executive producers.
This is very interesting. Yeah, go into that. What a producer does, because everybody sees it flash.
I know. Well, Right. You go
with a different kind of producers. Yeah.
Yeah. You go on there and you see, I mean, you watch a show and there's like 50 producers on there, you don't know. And some of them can literally be an agent, a manager of somebody who just has a title, I mean, and has no power. It's unique in each situation. My title that I have on every show that I've worked on and that I've kept is produced by, because I've always felt like that even though I was offered like a co-executive producer thing, that there's 10 co-executive, there's executives and co-executives. I was offered that once and I didn't, but I just kept with the produced by, because I didn't understand I don't get the benefit. But if it's produced by, I'm the only person on the shows that I'm on that has that title, produced by.
Oh, cool.
Because I'm the one but that doesn't always hold. So, I mean, on every show, so you get, each show is different, but I get the script, I break it down, we, with my ADs and all that, but I'm then in the day-to-day operations, I'm responsible for safety, for budget, for the creative output, making sure the show's on schedule, on time, and dealing with the actors, depending on each show is unique, right? You have, it depends on how, where are the for me, it's always like, where are the problems? Some shows it's the actors, some shows it's some crew member, it's a crew or a certain thing that you have to deal with. Some shows it's like it's all about, you're way over budget, you got to bring it down, you got to figure out ways to do that. Talk to the executive producers, the writers, I'm interacting with them. I mean, and depends on so I like to have a good relationship with my executive producers, which I've been very fortunate, and with pretty much everyone I've worked with has been fan, you know, really good. I mean, I haven't worked with any crazies that, well, maybe one or two, but in general, they've all been the people that I work with and consistently work with. I worked with John Strauss and Ed Decter, who were co-writers on There's Something About Mary, but I was working with them right when that was breaking. But they were
Mm.
really fantastic. We did the Tom Selleck show together, and then Odd Man Out that didn't go. So like like Tom Selleck show, we all got on that show and was like, "Oh, you're gonna be good." We had 12 episodes. I think actually they canceled us after 10. And then but it was like,
Oh,
but everybody was thinking, "This is it. We're gonna ride this thing for 7 years, right? And Magnum PI,
Yeah.
but
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it just didn't work out for whatever reason,
So basically, what I'm hearing is Hollywood is really hard and complicated.
It is hard. I mean, you're a freelancer. I mean, at least in
Yeah,
my position, but some people, you hit a wave and you're riding it. And I honestly, if you look on IMDb, or my resume more, I've done more stuff on my resume. It's that didn't happen or didn't air or whatever. But,
Yes, yes,
but
yes.
I've been able to work on shows that have been on the air for consistently since for not 40 years, but pretty close to it. Because 40 years
yeah,
that literally this last summer was my 40-year anniversary of moving out here. So I literally, I have something every year that I did. But some of those years, I'm literally spanning like, 8 months, 5 months not working,
right.
whatever. So you can't, I didn't spend the money on a Porsche or anything like that I didn't, you keep the money close, and we invested in a house, and, so that's how,
Right.
Yeah, you have a cool house and
you
a cool, very
survive,
cool
yeah.
area.
And then suddenly nothing was happening. And I'm like, I got kids, I got 2 kids, I got nothing, and for whatever reason, I didn't get an interview. So, there's a lot of good
Yeah,
people out here. A lot of people were a lot of they're my friends too, a lot of who are producers like me. So I did whatever I could. And then the thing that kind of broke it back so I could become a producer was I became a co-producer on a Disney Channel pilot. So basically, I'm doing that. No shows, none of the shows, even the Mad About You, which was not a reboot, but a continuation of Mad About You with Paul Reiser and
right.
Helen
No
Hunt,
hunt.
right? And that one was a straight for the streaming service, so we
Well,
had to drop.
that kind of leads us to the
Yeah,
question. I mean, the big
yeah. What's that?
question, which is, how has streaming changed your job and Hollywood in general?
Yeah,
The thing that it really has seemingly changed most is the short orders. That is what has really affected the business.
Explain that.
yeah. I was
Okay,
just gonna say,
like
explain that.
normally when you're on the network, you would generally get an order for 12 or
Uh-huh.
13 in your first season, and then they'd order a
Episodes.
back nine, what they call back nine. And so then that would be 22. So you'd have 22 episodes. So you'd do that. Well, the streaming services came in and they don't really necessarily need all that. I mean, once they get that little button on their screen that says, "We've got this show. Are you interested in the show?" Does it matter if it's 5 episodes or 100 episodes? Not a lot, because you want to at least pull those people in. So I think they started to feel like they could just order this, and also just to find out, hey, we do more of those buttons. Hey, we do 8 episodes of this, 8 episodes, of this, 8 episodes. Maybe one of those things will catch on, and then we can do it later. But for them, it's like we've got all these options we're just trying to get subscribers now. We're not trying to even to get viewers. I mean, necessarily. We just want people to come in
That's an
and
Right.
pay the
interesting
money.
distinction, that
Yeah.
the internet streamers are looking for subscribers, not viewers.
Basically, I'm the guy. Just give me a show. I'll make the show, however many episodes,
Right.
figure out how we amortize the costs. If it's a shorter order, you build sets, you build these big sets, and
Right.
you can amortize that over the series. But if it's only 8 episodes, then now that's more money in each episode against each episode. So now it's more expensive, right? So if you have a bunch of episodes, and you can kind of like, this show can be really big. We can do a really big show, spend a lot of money, and then have an episode that's really low cost, what you call a bottle show sometimes, and we can amortize that over time. But when you only have 8 or 6 episodes, I mean, you're just like, okay, we just got to do whatever it is, and the budget's going to kind of you can't do a huge episode, or if you do, you're just then the studio goes, well, you went over budget. We're gonna have to bring somebody else in.
What do you feel is happening? Because I mean, the companies are merging, the whole big thing with Netflix and Amazon and union and
Yeah.
strikes, and is Hollywood moving?
Financially, things are complicated, I think, right now, because how the audiences for linear TV, the ABC, NBC, CBS, whatever, is keeps shrinking and shrinking. And I think what's happening is that people are going to TikTok, and kids are, I think my specific area, the multicam comedies, is
Mhm.
has problems, because I don't know that kids want to spend even half an hour, watching
Right.
something.
You're competing against the iPhone and TikTok and social
Yeah.
media.
Yeah, I think everybody is kind of in a way, but
Right.
particularly with young people, they're not growing up on a diet. If they're not growing up on a diet of these multicam comedies, then when they grow a little older, are they going to want that? So then it'll keep on going down the line. It'll keep affecting the product, I think, but what we have to put out. But yeah, I mean, that definitely has an effect. But in terms of the streamers, they definitely have been had an impact, because they've taken away viewers. So what's happened is, while they've taken away all these viewers and people, so now there's less people watching cable, less people watching TV. So now everybody's got a smaller pie. Maybe
Mhm.
Netflix has a decent sized pie as long as they have the subscribers, right? But maybe they don't need to produce as much stuff, because they were always in the red. So they've been in the red, and then these other companies now are getting in the red because they aren't getting as many viewers. They can't sell as much advertising because they can only promise so many viewers, or they're cable and they're not getting many subscribers there. So you're getting a small. So now budgets don't change. I mean, I can't. I just because you
Oh,
say, okay, well, God, we gotta make it for cheaper." Well, but how? I mean,
how?
what I mean, you make it cheaper and it looks cheaper, then people will also not like that. I
Yeah,
think
that's a good point.
yeah, I think right now they're trying to shoot they're shooting up in Vancouver.
Mhm.
Nickelodeon is shooting a Thundermans, which was a show that was shot one a week. It's got special effects. It's superhero family thing. And so now they've gone up to so now, and it was off the air, but now they wanna reboot it. So they're bringing it back. They're trying to shoot that 2 a week. Now, the thing is, you've got minors. Well, they won't use so many minors, because they'll use some of the cast is now grown up. But
Mhm.
you're shooting 2 weeks, so you're reducing the quality. So then my thing, I mean, I'm curious to see. I many people are hoping that it doesn't work, because then it also takes work away from us. But you do 2 week, the quality gets less, then the kids go, "Well,
Yeah.
that's a low grade. That's
Mhm.
not such a good looking, show, and it's cheesy, and it's not as well written, because you're just cranking it out,
Right, right.
or performed and all that." So then then they'll turn it off even more, I mean, it could be a
Yeah.
self-perpetuating problem, because we're trying to save money on the budget, so that, because they don't have as much money in theory, because they have less viewers, less subscribers, and all that. But the streamers, I think, also, so that's on the I'm sorry, that's on really on the linear TV and the cable, is that they're having less viewers, or subscribers, and and so that's reducing. So they, their budgets, they need to cut their budgets. And then on the streamer side, I think they're just going, we're spending a lot of money. Do we need to spend this much money to get this many subscribers? I mean, what is it that really works? So let's, and here comes this. Okay, we had the pandemic, so they started to think about things then. Then
Mhm.
here hits the strike.
Yeah.
Last year, last April or what? Yeah, no, May. In
May.
last May, and the writer strike. Then the actors struck, and I think then so they couldn't do anything. They're starting to think, well, how much money do we need to spend? We're spending billions. Maybe we could spend half a billion or whatever. Let's cut our production in half or to fourth and see what do we really need, and how can we
Yeah.
make it cheaper? So let's look at New Mexico where they have tax incentives, or
Mhm.
Georgia, particularly Atlanta, right? There's tax incentives at other places, and so so a lot of single camera stuff is shot elsewhere, not in Los Angeles. And then but now they're even doing the multi-camera shows, which I usually do. I do some single camera
Yeah.
multi-camera shows, which are usually shot in front of our audience. They almost usually always shoot them here in LA, unless there's some in Atlanta, some Tyler Perry things. But they in general, shot them here because it's just it's a show with an audience. You get the audience here. You've also got the executives can visit the set. It's more like you're doing a play. 3 days of a week, you are rehearsing and getting things ready. And
Mhm.
Thursday on a usual show on Thursday and Friday, then you'll block and shoot on one day, and then you'll shoot the rest, and then shoot it in front of a audience on the Friday night. But of course, depending on which show, you could be on a Tuesday night, but it's the same pattern of 5 days. So they're trying, yeah. So that's that. But then so now they're starting to think about shooting those elsewhere. So
Oh, they are? Okay.
yeah, multicams. Yeah, well, like I said, the Thundermans is a multicam show. It does I don't
Yeah.
think they have an actual live audience because they did. I'm sorry, they used to, but I'm sure they don't. If you're shooting 2 in a week, you won't I don't think you'll be able to shuffle in an
Who who
audience.
who would have
Yeah,
ever
Wow.
thought when we were getting email addresses back in the mid-90s
right.
that that technology would disrupt
Yeah,
Hollywood
yeah.
in such a
It's
huge way? I mean,
it does, yeah. You can't think of living without it, but at the same time, you're just like, "Well, where does this end up going?" Where do we land? Me, I'm like the guy, I'm just like, I wanna do something creative.
Right.
And also work with people. I love working with my crews, and hiring great people. I mean, that's the key to being a good producer is you just hire good people and you treat them right. And,
Right.
and work collaboratively and work with your executive producers, in a very collaborative way. And you have to if you do have budget problems, you have to talk to your executive producers. They have to trust you and say, because they want to be on budget too. Ultimately, they
Of
want to be
course.
known as the guys or gals who blew up the budget. So they'll work with you, and you just try to come up with solutions. So that I'm just kind of the guy who does that type of stuff. And so all this stuff is just kind of, for me, is just kind of outside noise. Like, okay, can we just get it figured out, and I can go back to work. Right now, I'm not working. I've had my longest period since in my 40 years of not being on a TV show, yeah, TV show. Yeah, that longest time not working on a TV show.
Mm.
So, it's like, okay, I'm not ready to retire. And, I and I enjoy what I do, love what I do. And, just hoping that it comes back, and I just
Right.
don't know how and when it's gonna come back.
Do you think there will be less work? Less work? Do you think that would I mean, I can say, like, I've been working in live television for many years, and especially in sports, and I could see, like, the studios, first we were, like the whole control room was massive, and then it
Yeah,
just shrunk, 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 and now
right, right.
technically you don't even need, you can sit, it's fiber and, you don't it's shrinking.
I mean, it's going to change our jobs, but just as Seth said, as we, the email changed our job, the
Yeah.
being able to Google things, being able to find things. I mean, we used to have the 411 directories or whatever for this business for
Right.
showbiz, where you would have to look. Okay, I need a I don't need I need a snowball. Where can I get snowball or snow or whatever? Okay, look under the snow thing. You had a hard copy of this dang thing, and now nobody would even think of having that thing. I might have one around here, but it's I would never use it, and it's too old now. It's just all online. So things change, and then people just kind of have to adapt to them. I mean, when I came into Paramount, there was a lot of pushback because when I mean, they would have eventually done it anyway, but I said, hey, I just shot this show on HD. I think we can do it for cheaper. Well, what about if we shot on 35? What if we shot on 16 millimeter? Which, I mean, come on, the image,
Yeah.
it's like, come on,
Eh,
Hey, don't put down 16 millimeter. It's
16
good.
millimeter, right? No, I love 16 millimeter, but don't get me wrong. But for a broadcast network thing,
Yes, yes, yeah.
shooting 16:9, I mean, it's great. It's got great. If
Super
that's what you want,
16.
if
Yeah.
that's what you want, and the Super 16, sure.
Mm.
But I mean, it's like, so those people lost their job. But I mean, maybe I'm just a irrational optimist, except that if kids have short attention spans, then
Right.
what are you gonna do? I mean, I went into the dentist's office the other day and came in and sat down, and there's older people. I mean, much old, my age and older, were sitting there, and everybody is this,
Yeah.
everybody's that. I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't pick up my phone. Started talking to them, and they put their phones down and started interacting. But it's affecting
Mm.
everybody. It's affecting everybody and everybody's attention span, I think. So we have to, we have to accept that fact. I don't know where that leads to, but I mean, I know it affects me. I mean, I'm sitting there looking at my
Yeah.
phone, and that's right.
And the thing is, Craig, as your friend, you use social media for a very good way. When you did during the pandemic, you did pandemic theater.
Right. Pandemic,
And Craig
social
showed a bunch
distancing
of
theater.
films, the student films, and it was like a little
Oh,
I
that's
did
thing.
great.
one a day, right? I think
Yeah,
that
you
for a
were
while
doing a
there.
lot of stuff. Yeah, and
I
I
went
was
to one a week
watching it,
after one.
and I
Well,
watched.
I just went back to my old, junior high, high school, college films, and I had, I think, recently retransferred them, or I did then too during that time, and then I just cleaned them up or made them so they could be digitally
It's an
presentable.
example of
Yeah.
because we speak negatively often of social media. Was an example of a positive.
I'll see them.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I agree. No, there's definitely positives. Yeah, and you can't, again, like I say, there's good and bad. People try
Right.
to paint like AI is gonna take over and that's it. And I tried to find my Stanley Kubrick, my 2001 shirt that has HAL,
Hal.
the
Yeah,
computer
Yeah.
has HAL on it, or I couldn't find it. I have too many damn t-shirts. But
That would be a good one.
it's like, yeah, AI can do bad things, but again, HAL also did good things before he went crazy.
yeah,
I mean, they got into outer space and,
yeah.
with the help of
Well, they had a film scheduled to premiere at a London film festival that was written entirely by Chat GPT, but there was such an outcry against it
yeah.
that
Yeah.
they pulled it. And I don't, I think I'm maybe not quite as a filmmaker, not quite as sure about, just having watched. I've seen some short films
Mhm.
made from AI with people that don't even exist, scene to scene, and they're able to move them scene to scene now,
Yeah.
keep the same people, and they're pretty darn good, and it looks pretty darn realistic.
Really? Yeah.
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 So
Well, yeah, I mean, well, that sounds like it was a problem solving thing. Was it? Or, I mean,
no,
they
they made it all on
yeah.
prompts, just text. I mean, like there's a music video. I probably should have sent you these, but the
Oh, yeah, that one.
55 prompts, and it's this
Oh,
beautiful
no, you
music.
sent that to me. You sent that to me. I
Yeah,
looked at that. Yeah.
yeah,
I
and
mean, yeah, it's fine. It's a quirky little something. It's like I've seen have you ever seen that one like drone shot in the bowling alley? Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's not AI, but I'm just saying like, oh, that's a cool little thing. That's
Right.
crazy. 'Cause, we couldn't do that on our shows with with the minors around.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah.
That thing goes out of control or something. Really with the actors. I mean, drones, you got to be careful. But anyway, but I'm just saying there are all these, oh, great. That's a cool trick. That's neat.
But
But
as
well,
it matures is what I worry about.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, what do you guys see? Because you guys are doing the show. So what do you guys see as like the future of where AI is, or what have you heard the future of AI? Where is it leading us to in terms of what I do or what Hollywood does?
I'm worried about, first of all, that it's streaming, and I'm not saying this, but that's also because of unions and all this kind of thing, and how Hollywood is moving and shifting.
Mhm.
And I think the technology will take, or AI will take more and more jobs. What do you think, Seth?
Well, I mean, to be quite honest with you, seeing where it is now, where it's come in a couple of years, I think I think shows will be made on AI. I think there could be personal films. I think you might say, I want to see a romantic comedy set in Seattle with a pretty blonde woman and a tall, dark-haired man, and it will just make it for you, and it will make it as good or better than any screenwriter and any cinematographer could do. Now, that may not be true, but at the speed that it's advancing, it will be true. If it hits a wall, then maybe we'll still, exist as filmmakers. But I mean, there's a famous shot of when they first tried to do uh Will Smith eating spaghetti. It's kind of the I think it was 2021 or something like that. It's a clip, and it's kind of the benchmark that people use because it is like it's bad, but it was at the time surprisingly good that you could even do that. Make he wasn't there. It was generated. And then where they've come from 2021 to where they are in 2000, where they are now, is just so radically improved that, I just don't know. And I also think the streaming and then the internet streamers, I think, have disrupted, the financial landscape of Hollywood. And who knows how that will shake out, but it does seem to be less advantageous to the talent. I would say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that may be true. I mean, I wonder. To me, I think people still need actors and movie stars. Well, for example, animated movies, right? They you don't see the actors, but there are
Right.
actors acting out and doing the voices and creating characters, creating things like that. So the suggestion that there'll be a total actor made up, voice, everything, and it'll be all artificial. I don't think people maybe I'm wrong, but I think people they wanna know what Sydney Sweeney's doing or what they also wanna have they want them on the why are they on Instagram? I mean, there's like
Right.
constantly pushing. You gotta get more followers. People get acting gigs. I saw that at Nickelodeon because they have a bunch of followers. They
Well,
got,
you mentioned Taylor Swift. What if Taylor Swift
Yeah.
didn't exist, but only her music existed? Would she be nearly as
Yeah,
popular?
well, I don't think so, not even close, I don't think. But, I mean, that's kind of yeah, exactly, you're separating, the drama that she brings to it, the excitement that she's there, you get to meet her. I mean, at some point, I don't know if it'll take all the ideas in the world, right? I mean, it's stealing all the ideas in the world,
Yeah.
it's coming up with something, so it's a mix of, say it's,
Yeah, well, that's an interesting question. Do you consider it
like
stealing, or is this just how artists are formed?
well, It is partially how artists are formed, in a lot of ways, and I don't like to, I do a lot of videos. I mean, usually I do original music, but sometimes I don't. I just use other people's music in the video in my short films or whatever. But just when I put them on YouTube, not if I'm submitting it. I do original music, but so I'm using other artists' work, to create
Mhm.
my work. I'm obviously all the influences starting from Hitchcock all the way up to Scorsese and everybody. But so you use all the. You're right. You use everybody use those influences, but there's still that human mind then that takes it and puts their own personal spin on it. So, is it better than AI? I I've there's plenty of scripts I wish had been rewritten by AI so that I'm seeing, right? I mean, every now and then you go like, "Oh god," I mean, I wish they could have, they or at least bring in another writer or something. But I mean, so it's true. So it's not easy to write. Writing is hard, and to write well. I mean, it's
Craig,
hard.
the thing is that I was like you when we started this project, and we've been marinating for years on this project. Well, I mean, we showed you stuff like 4 years ago,
Right.
and um, I was like you, but hearing internet created music, like I I start to get into it, and I never thought I would. And
Yeah.
when I see some AI created videos, I get into them, and I never thought I would. We grew up without the internet, and now we have the internet,
Yeah.
and so we have this feeling of we need Mick Jagger. I mean, the Rolling Stones aren't the Rolling Stones, right, without Mick Jagger.
Right.
But sometimes when I'm watching these things, I get emotionally involved, and I'm
Yeah.
very surprised.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like maybe the human brain can't stop itself from being emotionally involved if
Manipulate.
the
Yeah.
scrutiny. Yeah, I mean,
Manipulated to do
well,
whatever.
what is a film? It's a manipulation in a way,
Right. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Well, I would think like for us now we are older, so I think the view we would have on films and the backgrounds or on as you said, music and all that. But what about the kids who didn't grow up like how we grew up? They're growing up with all these fast TikToks, the being famous,
Yeah.
on social media and all this kind of thing. Like they're viewing everything very different than we are. So how would it look 10 years from now or 20 years from
Yeah.
now? Would they maybe they don't care about sets the same way, or they don't care about real actor. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
what would I
yeah, it
know?
is
But I
hard to
think
say.
you know,
It is hard to say, but I will say this one thing that I think is interesting is that Spotify, it's a little complicated, is in trouble for well, they're not in trouble. They get to do whatever they want, but there's accusations that they're using AI created music in their playlists.
oh yeah, definitely.
And the thing is, people are listening to it and liking it, which is interesting. They're not identifying it as as
Right.
as as AI created.
Yeah. I mean, with this music, it's created and then, but I mean, does this human still have to kind of like prompt it to do
Yeah, yeah,
anything? I
you
mean,
prompt it,
you
you
got to
say
just first say, I want a disco song. Okay. Well,
yeah,
now
Right.
they're like, well, more like the Bee Gees or whatever. Right. I mean,
yeah,
you're
exactly. That's
whatever.
how it works.
Yeah.
My cousin's response, who's a programmer, he said AI is humanity, you know? It is who we are in a
Mhm.
way, as
Yeah.
a collective. And so it's not surprising that it creates things that move us, you know, because
Yeah.
it's watching all the films that have ever been made
Yeah.
and
Well,
learning.
yeah. Yeah. There are jobs that are going to be changed, revised, go away, but maybe other jobs that will crop up. Kids nowadays, I don't hear a lot of them wanna be movie makers. they want to be influencers. They want to make the
Yeah,
easy money. They
yeah.
want to make the easy money. I want to show what I'm shopping, what I'm doing. And look at me, it's very it's sad because they're not learning the skills. I didn't plan to be in multicams. Trust me. I wanted to make I wanted to be in movies but it
Yeah.
turned out I think it's a better, more stable career. I just, I think of people making movies, man, so great, you're working solid depending on what your job is, but you're working 9 months or I mean, if you're the director, you're working a couple years on it, but also what's the payout at the end and then maybe there's what's the next thing, or if you're just working on it as a producer, you might work 9 months and then what's my next thing? I gotta line that up, and if that movie's not a success, then so I and there's just more opportunities. TV's more steady too because you do 22 episodes, so, you work basically 9 months.
I mean, for me too, I was like, I never wanted to get into sports. I don't know how I got into sports. It was just hell. And I was like, I don't even like sports that much. But I was really good in live because that's live, 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 live. So
Well, with the streaming boom here, which was the previous 10 years or like, until now, right? They were pumping a lot of shows. So that meant they need more people. So there's more people working. The problem
right.
you had was, like I said, the 8 episodes, the 6 episodes. How do you string it together? Well, this show's going to get picked up for another 8 episodes in a year. What do you do in the meantime? If you're a crew member or whatever, you're not getting paid enough. So you would have to try to string it together. Okay, find another show that's going to be 8 episodes. And then while that one's good, then that one comes, you're just, but what are the odds of that? So then there's more people working, but they're getting less paid because because they're overlapping. You're overlapping. So now that show's overlapping with this show. Because it used to be everything on May, the networks would announce what their shows are, and then everybody says, you either get on a horse, or if you're not on a horse, then you gotta wait till the next year. I mean, and I was
Yeah.
lucky enough that I always got on a horse or at least part of a horse. Half horse. But if you didn't, then you just which I didn't one or two times, but I found something came in the fall maybe, but but now it's all year round, things are happening, so as a crew member
But
or
that's what I'm
a
saying,
producer.
Hmm.
the internet really has disrupted the business of Hollywood.
It's certainly changed. It's made a big change to it. And so now there's all these people you had to get crews, and so people are like, "Hey, there's work. We need a new prop master." So now we got more prop masters because you got shows
Yeah.
overlapping but you're not making quite as much. But now, with the shows going away, there's this big group of people, and here's the amount of shows, right? So
Wow. Yeah.
so that's a dilemma, and I'm hoping that I can get into that moving forward.
I'm sure
Yeah.
you
And you
will.
I'm
will.
not spun off.
Well,
Yeah, you're not spot
anytime
on.
you over the last 15 years, you've looked at every project I've ever conceived of because you have such a good eye and such good, remember Paquito Moss? We would go meet
Yeah, yeah.
there, and you
Of
would
course.
give me, feedback on my projects.
Yeah. Well,
So,
good. Yeah,
I
well,
think,
give
yeah, you've
yeah.
gotta
Thanks,
I'm
man.
sure
Thanks.
you'll get on that horse or
I
part of a horse
Yeah,
very
farm
soon.
horse.
I mean, part of our I'm
You
sure
just need a good horse. I mean, honestly, if I could retire, if I could afford to retire, uh, uh, you know, I might consider it because I would just write, I'd write. I have,
yeah.
my 14 screenplays or whatever that, unmade or undone, but, I feel like I'm getting better.
Yeah.
Maybe by the time I'm, in my hundreds, I'll, really hit my stride
Right.
or not.
Do you think the I'm sorry, I just want to ask this,
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
union, do you think the unions, what do you think of that? Because I know like just uh, a lot of talk, especially with streaming and from networks, there was more union shows, and there's some new production company, they maybe don't want to do the guilds anymore
Yeah.
the same way. Like, what do you? I just what's your feeling overall about? Do you think union it's gonna die out in a way?
I hope not because
Yeah.
I've generally only worked on union shows,
Right.
and I find that it is I mean, it's just a way to live. I mean, I'm sorry, you can't,
Yeah,
if you're non-union, is it a hobby? I mean, you're gonna pay $100 a day or whatever, I mean, it's like, yeah,
right.
that's great. That's your passion project, but I'm a prop master or whatever. Again, back to prop master, but I'm a prop master. I can barely survive on that. And then when your movie's done, then I have no benefits. I have no,
Yeah,
pension. I have nothing. I have nothing. I'm literally, see me. I'm now, I'm able to, I'll have health insurance and pension and stuff like
yeah,
that from the DGA and from Motion Picture Health. Cause when I worked as an associate producer and whatnot, but, but so I'm a big union advocate, but I understand it's more expensive and they're trying to cut back. I'd say cut
yeah.
back some of the executives, but that's just,
I
but don't
I
tell them that
agree.
because I want to work for all of them. But, but no, so I think unions are necessary to make a living in this business. If you're not, just the guy you're the director with the idea and you're going to make all this money. Well, that's how does that, I mean, that's great for you, but all these people that are working for you, what are they? Is it just a hobby? Is it just something that they do on the side? The union's the only way you can really survive and make a living at this business. And if it spreads out, then it's just, it becomes it's untenable for a lot of people, and then the quality will go down. And the other thing, as a producer, when I go in there to do the budget and they say, okay, let's plug in all the rates. Great. I got the rates. They're in the union book. Boom.
Yeah,
Most of the shows I work on at scale. I mean, some positions you'll get higher, but I guarantee if I went in there and I said, okay, we're going to hire a crew, what pay them as little as you can. Pay them as
yeah.
what they'll just. Oh, and if you don't do it as a producer, we'll get a producer who will. We'll
Mm,
find that producer. Now, I think that may compromise the product. It might compromise you know, uh, yeah, I mean, basically what the movie's gonna be, and also the people and the working conditions and all that. Unions also have protections for people on set, which are important. SAG, not just SAG, but the other unions, have safety training and stuff like
yeah,
that. So there are not, obviously there are mistakes made, but trust me, if it's non-union and people who aren't trained, there'd be so many more disasters, on sets,
I agree.
that's I mean, I'm just a big union advocate, and I don't like working on shows without union people because they're not as good. They're not as, I mean, they're not as protected, and I would feel bad if I'm paying somebody, just having to negotiate with every person, you know, also,
Yeah,
and why are you paying the prop master this and this person that? It's like, oh no, we're just going to pay everybody $100 a day or whatever you come up with. But, yeah, so I don't, I'm not a fan of that. But again, I don't know if it is sustainable in the long run.
I don't know. I don't know either. And it just makes me so happy to. I'm pro union. I'm with the director scale too, and I'm IATSE, and I'm so pro union and everything that you are saying. I am like, thank you, especially for being a producer and that you really looking into that. And unfortunately, I have many friends who've been working on non-union shows, and it's horrible. Long hours, long things, and they maybe, it's anyway, so but I can see, like, companies don't wanna pay the fees. It's more expensive, but
I feel like unions are, they may have some problems, some issues, but in general, I mean, oh no, overall, you got to use them. But again, will they survive? I mean, with the oligarchs and the people, the studios, wanting to cut.
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know.
yeah.
But I'm hopeful.
All right, man. Well, it's always good to see you, and I look
Yep.
forward to
Good to see you,
seeing
sir.
you in
Yeah,
person
we will.
sometime
Yeah.
Yeah, thank
Hopefully,
you
very,
so
very
much.
nice to
soon.
meet you, Caroline.
All right.
You too.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.
Thank you for watching or listening to The Internet is Crack. Tune in next week when we talk to David Rodnitsky, founder of 3Q Digital. It's going to be a great conversation. You can watch us or listen to us on YouTube or Spotify or many other outlets. And don't forget to follow us on social media. See you next Monday.